Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible equinety stories and how equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast, number 138. We're swinging up into Torrington, Wyoming. We've got Jamie Wilkinson on the call this week. Jamie, welcome to the Team Equinety Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. And, you know, what's really fascinating with all these podcasts, that there's a lot of commonalities with the stories and things that go along with the product experience. Give us a little bit about your background and how you came across the Equinety product.
I've raced colts and been in the horses since I was a girl. My dad was a professional rodeo cowboy, so we always had horses, good horses, and mares. And I'm down to just now. I don't have a big band of mares anymore, and we have a little ranch, and we both have other professions besides that, and we rope. And we came upon the Equinety thing totally by accident, watching the Cowboy Channel, but we had to see the commercial about 100 times before it dawned on us that that would be a good thing to try with this one particular horse that we have trouble with. So
what was going on with that particular horse?
Cisco is an 18-year-old gelding who for the last 3 years has not shed his winter hair correctly. And he'll shed his legs and his face and then some little spots on his body, but then he just hangs onto this hair. And we've tried all kinds of things, and we've had vets tell us different things, and we've tested him for everything. And he's just healthy as a pig and shiny and happy, but he won't shed this long hair. And I've contended for the last 3 years that he has a glandular issue, some kind of an endocrine problem. And one night we were watching a rodeo on the Cowboy Channel, and we saw the Equinety ad. And for some reason that night when the ad came on, I grabbed my and ran it across the code and started reading all about it. And I said, we got to try this with Cisco. And Mike said, that's a good idea. So just as we got into that, our mare got sick, and then we ended up trying it on two, and then it dawned on us to try it on this young rope horse who was kind of spooky, and all three of them have had great results.
Well, now you went into a little sciencey on us with endocrine and glands and different things like that. So just so people know, you do have a bit of a medical background.
I do. I'm a medical assistant, but I'm also a master roster myofascial release practitioner, and I run cold laser, ultrasound, e-stim. My cold laser I run on horses, dogs, people, kitties, whatever needs lasered, we can laser it. And so I have a bit of a background, and I have a kind of an extensive background in nutrition. So I'm kind of a freako about my horse's nutrition, just as I am about the rest of our animals and ourselves, even though my husband doesn't follow all the things I tell him to do.
Like most of us husbands.
Vitamins and things,
Yeah, that's right. So when you saw our ad for, you said the 100th time, so you scanned it. Now, what was it that kind of popped out at you first, or what was it that really tweaked your interest when you were reading about it?
Well, I just when I started reading about it, I was reading the part about amino acids stimulating the glandular tissue and whatnot, and I go, hey, this is perfect for Cisco. I think this is going to help him. We're going to be amazed. And Mike's like, yeah, let's try it. So I immediately ordered my Equinety, and I got extra because I ended up ordering extra because I wanted to try those other horses on it and just see, and it ended up being really successful. With Cisco, we noticed massively more hair loss within 3 days. He was shedding.
And this had been something,
crazily.
as you said, he had been having this mystery thing going on for what, 3 years, you said?
It's been about 3 years that he doesn't shed off correctly.
Wow. And so
Mhm.
within 3 days, he's shedding it.
Oh man, yeah, like crazy. And his spots where he had lots of white long hair. He's a bay roan, and so most of his long hairs he's not shedding are white. So he started shedding these amounts, and he started looking like an Appaloosa because he'd have these blotchy white spots all over. But like if I took a picture of him today, you can see the difference today, even from when we have finished the challenge in 30 days. He's lost even more hair. And I'm kind of excited because in Wyoming here, we're starting to down up for winter, and he's down and up, but he's still losing his long hair.
That's pretty wild, I will say.
Very.
Yeah. So now you had mentioned that at the time, so Cisco, you started noticing results fairly quickly. And then what was going on with your other mare and mama mare and things going on here?
She just got really ill really quickly, was running a fever, looked like she dropped 50 pounds overnight, and she was droopy. So we took her to the vet immediately because she was nursing a 2-month-old baby, and they kept her for approximately 9-10 days, and I wasn't getting anywhere with that, and I figured she'd been on 10 days of pretty intensive medication. So I went and got her, brought her home, started her on Equinety and some a probiotic called L-arginine, and she is doing fantastic.
Wow. And you don't really know exactly why she got sick or what happened?
Nope.
Really?
We just suspect some funky virus that her body picked up somewhere, I guess. She doesn't get hauled anywhere. She just stays at home, but we just assume it was some funky virus that she picked up somewhere, and it just settled in her system that way. And it's like she had COVID, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So then you had a third horse, and you can't leave this one out when you've already used it on the other two. So tell us about this one.
We do. His name is Moss. He's a big old gray 6-year-old quarter horse gelding, and we rope on him, and he gets a little. He does well when you rope. He doesn't do it, but when you're riding him out, he spooks at little things. Not bad spooks. He just looks at things. You know, to me, it's no big deal because I've ridden colts my whole life. My husband doesn't like it, right. And for some unknown reason, I just decided, hey, let's try the Equinety with him and see what happens. So I put him on Equinety one weekend after we roped. I go, hey, let's try him on this Equinety. So I did. And within 1 week, it was maybe less than a week, 5 days, I roped on him again. And he was like an entirely different horse. He was calm, and he's really focused in the arena anyway, but he was focused and calm, and he barely looked at the sprinkler. He barely looked at the stuff that he normally looks at. He just was kind of like, yep, it's all in a day's work. And it was I told Mike that was like riding a different horse.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, and maybe you've been seeing Equinety and hearing about it, but don't really know exactly what it is. It's a very unique product, and this is the Equinety Horse Excel. And it doesn't really fit into a specific supplement category. In other words, it's not just a joint supplement or hoof supplement or a calmer or muscle builder or focus or anything like that. What it's specifically designed to do, first of all, it's 100% pure amino acids. And what it's doing is it gives the body what it needs to help release its own hormones from the pituitary gland. And this allows the body to send its own hormones to its own problem areas. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out, and it's 100% safe to use with any other medications or supplements or feeds, because again, it's just amino acids. And we recommend not changing anything you're giving your horse already. Just add a scoop of this to it. A scoop is only 5.2 grams, which is like a teaspoon. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. And, just like everything that you've been talking about here, Jamie, the product starts working within hours. And now it's just a matter of how quickly people can see the results. So a lot of times with horses that have stress, anxiety, or a bit spooky, we've seen complete demeanor changes in as little as 2 or 3 days. In about a week to 2 weeks, they feel better under saddle. They're more focused, faster recovery. and you get into that 30-day mark, softer, shinier coat, they're starting to fill out top line hips. And you get beyond that into the 6 to 8 week mark, and people really start noticing the hoof quality, the firmer sole depth and just the overall hoof growth. So it really helps balance the horse from the inside out, ultimately is what's going to happen, just by feeding this one product. And, before we were recording, you were talking about some of the things you talk to your students about, when you're doing clinics and things like that. Would you share that with people that have performance horses, or that are, even trail riding horses that are out using their horses?
Sure. I used to tell my riding students who were getting ready to show for 4-H or whatever, if you want to have a performance horse, you need to feed him like a performance horse. And for them, being young kids, I would make the analogy of, if you ate mashed potatoes every day and nothing else, how do you think you would feel? And then the kids would be able to compute in their own head, oh, hey, not very good. Maybe that crappy hay that I'm feeding and nothing but just hay or something isn't enough to make my horse win the class, So that's kind of what I used to. And the other thing that you and I talked about was, you think that the feed quality that you have is excellent, which right now we think our feed quality is excellent, but it contains the things you need, the trace minerals, the minerals, the amino acids, the prebiotics, the probiotics, and all this stuff. But perhaps the quality of the amino acids and or the quantity that you get in the amount of feed you feed is not enough. And I'm a firm believer now that they were not getting enough. And if it can change something in 2 or 3 days, they were not getting enough.
Yeah. And, it's interesting, being on the market now, climbing up here on 9 years, and just talking with thousands of horse owners around the country, as well as in different countries. They all have different feeding programs. They all, have different age horses. They have horses that are doing different things for jobs. What we found is when they start adding the Equinety to their feeding program, they're all seeing results. And I would say the vast majority is in 30 days or less, which is why we call it the Equinety 30-day challenge. Don't change anything, just add this to it. Take pictures on day 1, day 15, and day 30 so you can compare. If you're not seeing changes, it's maybe you're not the one feeding or looking at your horse, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah. But no, we just see it over and over and over. And even, you get high-end feeds that are loaded with amino acids. If that feed is in a pelleted form, that requires an extremely high heat, which destroys the integrity of the amino acids. So it comes back to, what you were saying there. They're just not getting the right amount, and the quality isn't there. And so, we're blessed to have a product that helps in so many ways. It's very cost effective. A large tub is $100 for 100 servings. So $1 a day for your horse, which is pretty inexpensive when you're talking in the supplement world.
True. And the interesting thing is, I think most people would be surprised the tiny little amount for the big horse makes such a big difference. Because it's not a lot. It doesn't look like much when you compare it to the weight of a horse.
No, that's the other thing that makes it unique is, our serving size is based on the size of the pituitary gland, which it doesn't matter if it's a colt to a 2,000 plus pound draft horse. They get the same dose because the pituitary gland's, roughly the same size in horses. So it makes it unique. And, again, it takes out so much of the guesswork, and it's one of the reasons why we started this podcast years ago, was to help get these stories out so people could hear all the different things going on and how the product has helped. So, well, Jamie, if there's anything, if anybody's tuning in and maybe they're on the fence a little bit, is there anything that you could say to them to maybe get them off the fence to give it a try?
Well, I really think it's my experience is that we tried it on 3 entirely different problems, and all 3 had very beneficial results. And now I would not hesitate for 1 second to try it on any kind of a problem that I thought I had that wasn't measuring up. And I've already suggested it to multiple people that were complaining about different problems here and there. And I think the other thing that's going to be interesting is when the farrier comes next time. Cisco has been our problem child with feet, and it's not that he has bad feet, he just has to be shod correctly or he has issues. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he says about Cisco in particular with his feet this next time he comes.
Yes, you have to keep us posted on that. We've had phenomenal feedback with hoof issues through the years. It's been pretty amazing. Yeah. So, well, awesome. Well, Jamie Wilkinson out of Wyoming, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories here on the Team Equinety podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the good product.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
That's
Bye-bye.
all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.